All right, we are back. Good Vibes with Debbie Cox DeNova. We're talking about optimizing brain power. So important, we held it over for another week. So this is a good topic.
Yeah.
So we got to, where do we go from here?
So
how do I get better at brain power?
Yeah. So when I'm coaching people, this is the point of frustration often. It's like I can sit here and have a conversation with you, and I can tell you what I want. I can tell you why I want it, and that's really important to know why you want it. Okay. I can tell you all the steps to get there, the action steps, and then we talk about going into our actual lives, and it's like it doesn't happen, and that's because there are different aspects of us at play, and it's important to recognize that as human beings, we're in these suits, these biosuits, right? And so we have to contend with our nervous system, understand how the nervous system works, and work with it to make and create change.
But doesn't that happen to everybody?
Yes.
We all think it's just us, but it's everybody I talk to has the same things going on.
Absolutely, yes, because we're all human, right?
Yeah.
The people who win in life, they understand what it takes to be a winner, the associations that are taken. And what's really great is that we're basically all of us going through life with our own little virtual a virtual reality of sorts. It's a lot about like, what are we from a subjective place, how are we experiencing the world? And this is because of the nervous system. The nervous system does 5 things, okay? It takes basic sensations that are non-negotiable, okay? And it takes in the sensations, and then it creates a perception of that. And then from the perception, there's emotions that come, and from the emotions, thoughts, and then from the thoughts, behaviors. And so for each of us that is different. And we take those non-negotiables, right? We create perceptions, and then there's convergence sometimes in the way that we perceive. But as you well know, there's oftentimes just our own little myopic world, right, through which our perceptions are coming. The really good news is that you have agency about how you perceive the world. If you understand that most of what you were hardwired with was from before you had a say in it, then you can go back and you go, okay, wait a second, what's working for me and what's not working for me? Like, let me evaluate here, and let me understand that I can actually rewire my brain just like a child if I recognize how to use the system properly. So the nervous system has all of these things. It's got the sensations, the perceptions, the emotions, the thoughts, and the behaviors. What it's really trying to do is regulate and sort of make a match between your internal world and the external world. So if you ever, for example, have an experience where you are feeling impatient in line at a grocery store.
You've been following me?
Right? So, I mean, and it's not always, right? But sometimes you're standing in line and they're taking forever, and it's like there's this agitation happening. What's happening there in your nervous system is that, like, the metronome, the pulse at which your nervous system is going is faster than what is actually happening.
That is true.
Right? So what it automatically does is it makes an assessment about what's appropriate here and tries to start regulating you to what's appropriate. Now, on a day where you don't have anything to do, you're well rested, you've exercised, right? You might be in line in the same exact scenario, but your metronome is moving slower, and so there's an appropriate level of response to what's happening. That's what your nervous system is doing.
Or if you're late for a wedding, everybody's going slow.
Right. So it's like it's important to understand that our first impression is probably going to be, our primary impression is going to be what's happening on the inside of us, right? That's where we're going to put our most concern. And so meditation is a really great thing so that we can kind of slow down the RPMs. We've talked about that. Andrew Huberman says there's just a ton of research to suggest that it is a really, really powerful way to tap into your brain, to neurohack. But then the other thing is to recognize how to best rewire yourself. Now, let's go back to children. We see them playing, right? And they're so neuroplastic. And one of the great things about play is what we talked about with the 85% rule, right? So it's like they put everything they have into it, but they also recognize the framework is not that serious, right? So it's going with as much as you have, enjoying yourself, right? And also like bringing in new pathways.
So they won't lose sleep if they lose the game.
Exactly. They recognize that it is a game, right? So if we can actually take that perspective, and a lot of us lose it in childhood, thinking it's worthless as an adult. It is not. If you can take a lightheartedness, but go with everything that you have at your goal, choose a goal that's exciting to you, that is honorable to you and others, right? And then actually go with it amount of play. Focus is really important, and then urgency is another one. If you want your dopamine system to work for you. That's that reward system, right, that rewards you along the way. You need to understand that the gateway to doing anything is that initially it's going to be agitation and stress. So that's what people who are successful understand. So being able to really like evaluate how you're processing the world and whether or not it's working for you is so valuable. What influences are there? And then be able to frame it up a little bit. You want focus. We want to choose goals, right? You want focus, because remember, we want to make the acetylcholine work for us. So we want to bring ourselves to a heightened state around what's important to us. But most importantly, the process, which we talked about before. If you don't look at the process, the hard process on there as rewarding, then your dopamine system will work against you, okay? It's a reward prediction error.
Just real quick for the next, I've seen acetylcholine in pill form or vitamins, whatever it is. Does that amp you up or does it?
Well, yeah, it's going to, like I said, the role of acetylcholine is to help you focus, right? To bring yourself to a heightened state of awareness and alertness. And so people will ask, well, is it better for good or bad? It doesn't really matter. Either way, it's gonna
Equalize wherever you're weak at.
Right. When we are afraid, is that it's fight, flight, freeze, right? Or fawn. Remembering that the reward system and the way that our brain works is an internal thing, it's a subjective thing, which means that self-talk becomes really, really important. What you're saying to yourself about anything is what becomes important. So it's kind of reminding yourself, and if you kind of imagine yourself as being just this kind of higher being of sorts over the nervous system and the little parts of yourself that are scared, it's kind of like, okay, here we go. This is actually a phenomenon that's at play whenever we're talking about home field advantage, right? So it's like, why is it that players do better whenever they have their home team in the stands going, go, 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 right? It's that talk that boosts them, that creates that, that trips their norepinephrine, their dopamine system, right? And creates this convergence of like, okay, like I need to go and give myself all this performance. You can do that to yourself though. You can be your own, in the bleachers of your own life, right? Going, okay, go, you have to go. And if you start talking to yourself, and the most successful people in the world do, talk to themselves not only in the first person, but also the second person.
That is very true.
Right? So if you start talking to yourself in a more powerful, we're all talking to ourselves, let's just be real. We're talking to ourselves whether we know it or not. What are we saying to ourselves? That is worth looking at, because the people who are successful are telling themselves good things along the way. In other words, somebody might say, all right, I think I want to start exercising. Like I want to start an exercise program. And so they get really excited about it. It's first of the year. They're going to do the thing. The dopamine system is kicked into play. Maybe they get up 1st of January and they go and they actually do something. But what happens is they get to the gym, and even though they were imagining this great experience, it's painful, there's a struggle, and then we have the reward prediction error that happens with the dopamine system. So the dopamine system is designed to keep you going, right, in good situations. It wants you to remember what's working for you so that you continue to do it. But the reward prediction error means that the dopamine the system expects it to be a reward, and then what you get is something the opposite of a reward. And so what happens is that it creates this pro-depressive experience where it basically discourages you from doing it.
Like how would it, like I'm working out, I've been working out for 2 weeks and I gained 2 pounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
All systems shut down.
Yes, that would trip the reward prediction error. And then knowing this, then you're going to feel like, well, I don't want to. But what might more likely happen is that you start making excuses. Like, oh, you know, well, I'm going to give myself another day of rest. I'll start next week. My
leg hurts.
Right, exactly. Right? All sorts of things sort of getting in the way. So if you understand how this works, then what you need to understand is that you need to expect, first of all, discomfort about the process. Because people who are successful at anything, they not only expect and anticipate that it's going to be uncomfortable, they get excited about it. So gym rats like myself who talk to each other and go, I did such a killer leg day, like I'm so sore. And we say it not like I'm so sore, like I'm so sore, like I'm impressed with myself, right? So my association to that soreness is different from somebody who maybe doesn't like to exercise whatsoever, because even though it doesn't feel good to me, I've created it as a reward to know that that is evidence that I completed a great workout. So this is what successful people do. First of all, you choose the right goals, the ones that are honorable, the ones that excite you. And then second of all, you connect a reward to the process of getting there. And we've talked about that before. That means that if you're going to the gym or you haven't gotten there yet, let's say you want to run a marathon, but you're just completely sedentary. Like the first day you might set your shoes by the door and you're like, yes, I did. I'm moving forward, right?
Wow, that's a big goal.
Yeah. Hey, look, but it doesn't matter, because what you're doing is you're telling your brain like, okay, I'm moving forward toward the
About to kick it in.
That's it. Next day, you might put your shoes on. The next day, you might take a walk around the block. And then the next day, you might take 2 walks around the block. So even though you're moving slowly, your dopamine system is working for you because you're moving forward. You know, it's really important. We do this with children naturally, right? Like if the child is learning how to walk, we don't sit there and like highlight all the times that they fall down and go, oh, you're worthless, you're never going to walk. Never would we do that, right? In general, when a child is trying to walk, we say, they take 1 step and they fall. You did 1 step, right? 2 steps, and we're encouraging them. And in that way, they keep getting up and they keep on trying, right? So we should be doing this to ourselves in the smallest ways. If you are not doing anything toward your goal, even doing a little bit toward your goal should be recognized, and you should give yourself a reward system. If you don't, you're already planning to fail because our brains are hardwired for negativity, for punishment, to keep us safe and secure doing whatever it is that we're doing right now and not to change very much. So knowing that and knowing how we are wired for usually from trauma, it's important to then sort of like encourage and focus, using that focus and urgency. Urgency is really important.
Great job at explaining it.
Thanks.
Now I'm ready to have some optimal brain potential. All right. We'll see you again next week.